Environmental biotechnology, bioremediation. Definition: bioremediation is the use of living organisms, primarily microbes and plants, to remove or neutralize contaminants from a polluted area. This process utilizes natural biological activities to detoxify hazardous substances in the environment. Types of bioremediation.
In situ, bioremediation is the treatment of contaminated material right at the site of contamination without excavation. Now, let's talk about the methods. First, we have bioventing. This involves supplying air and nutrients to increase the activity of indigenous bacteria. Then there's bioaugmentation, where we add specific strains of bacteria to the contaminated site. And don't forget phytoremediation, which uses plants to absorb, sequester, and degrade contaminants. Some examples of in situ bioremediation include the treatment of oil spills in soil and groundwater bioremediation of chlorinated solvents. Ex situ bioremediation involves the removal of contaminated material from the site for treatment elsewhere. For methods, we've got landfarming, where contaminated soil is excavated and spread over a prepared bed where it's aerated and sometimes irrigated. Then there's composting, where contaminated soil is mixed with organic materials to enhance microbial activity. Lastly, we have biopiles, where contaminated soil is piled and aerated to stimulate microbial degradation. Examples of ex situ bioremediation include the treatment of excavated soil contaminated with petroleum hydrocarbons.
The role of plants and microbes in bioremediation is, well, quite fascinating. Let's start with plants, or phytoremediation. There's phytodegradation, where plants metabolize contaminants within their tissues. Then there's phytoextraction, where plants absorb contaminants through their roots and store them in their shoot tissues. And of course, phytostabilization, where plants immobilize contaminants in the soil through absorption and accumulation. A great example of this is sunflowers being used to remove heavy metals from contaminated soil. Now, when it comes to microbes, bacteria and fungi play a huge role. They decompose organic pollutants through their metabolic processes. We also have bioaugmentation, which is the introduction of specific microorganisms to enhance degradation. And there's biostimulation, where we add nutrients and oxygen to stimulate indigenous microbial activity. A notable example is the use of Pseudomonas bacteria to degrade oil spills.
Bioindicators are organisms used to monitor the health of an environment or ecosystem. For example, lichens are often used to indicate air quality by their presence or absence. Similarly, macroinvertebrates are commonly used to assess water quality in freshwater ecosystems.
Biofertilizers. These are natural fertilizers that use microbial inoculants to promote plant growth by increasing the availability of nutrients. There are different types of biofertilizers. For instance, nitrogen-fixing bacteria like Rhizobium and Azotobacter. Then we have phosphate-solubilizing bacteria such as Bacillus and Pseudomonas. Not to forget, mycorrhizal fungi, which form symbiotic relationships with plant roots to enhance nutrient uptake. The benefits? They reduce the need for chemical fertilizers, enhance soil fertility, and promote sustainable agriculture.
Biofuels. These are renewable energy sources derived from biological materials. There are several types, including biodiesel, which is produced from vegetable oils or animal fats. Then there's bioethanol, made from the fermentation of carbohydrates in crops like corn and sugarcane. And we have biogas, which is produced from the anaerobic digestion of organic waste materials. The advantages of biofuels are quite significant. They reduce greenhouse gas emissions, are biodegradable, and can be produced from waste materials.
Biosensors. These are analytical devices that combine a biological component with a physicochemical detector to detect analytes. The components of a biosensor include a biological element, which could be enzymes, antibodies, nucleic acids, or microorganisms. And then there's the transducer, which converts the biological response into a measurable signal. Biosensors have diverse applications such as medical diagnostics, environmental monitoring, food safety, and industrial process control. A common example is glucose biosensors used for monitoring blood sugar levels in diabetic patients.
Environmental biotechnology harnesses biological processes to address environmental challenges, promoting sustainability and reducing the ecological footprint of human activities.